John's list brings us into the romantic era of classical music. A rock star in his day. John Nelson, who we're talking about in this video, is perhaps the rock star in our little history room. Ambassador to Italy, one could say, and the Attorney General of America, also with some of our best historical artifacts, you may call them. He was born in Frederick, Maryland, where his father lived with his father in 112 West Church Street, which is now downtown Frederick, Maryland, and a 4-story department store or something like that. He attended William and Mary College, where there's gossip through my family that he was the roommate of the future President John Tyler, who appointed him Attorney General. However, John Tyler graduated 4 years earlier and was older than John Nelson, so I'm not sure they ever met. He was admitted to the bar at 19 years of age and went back to practice in the same town his father was. His father died 2 years later. After practicing law for 8 years, he ran for the same office as his father held from the 4th District of Maryland and won that race in 1821. That's the 17th Continental Congress. He retired from that after 2 years. I guess he didn't like it, and went back and moved to Baltimore, Maryland. So our family shifted from Frederick to Baltimore with that move. He bought a very nice house in what's called the Mount Vernon district, right close to the Washington Monument. Well, the Washington Monument at that time was in Baltimore, not in Washington, D.C. He practiced for 10 years there and was quite an influential lawyer. In 1831, he was appointed the ambassador, back then they called it the Charge d'Affaires, in charge of the affairs, to the two Sicilies. There was no Italy back then. There was two Sicilies, one the island of Sicily and one Naples, and they was called the two Sicilies, mostly controlled by the Catholic Church. Matter of fact, Baltimore, where John Nelson lived, was very highly Catholic, the only Catholic city in America. So possibly John Nelson knew a lot of Catholics and was influential in that social setting, and that's why he was appointed the ambassador to the two Sicilies. My mother stated he was the ambassador to the Vatican. However, the true Vatican did not happen until the early 1900s. There's no record of John ever traveling to Italy or the two Sicilies. There's another connection that may have occurred. John Nelson's father was injured in the Revolutionary War, and one of the nurses in Charleston that took care of injured soldiers was Elizabeth Jackson, Andrew Jackson's mother. And Andrew Jackson lived in Charleston with his mother the same time John's father was being nursed back to health. Possibly John Nelson knew Andrew Jackson through his father. Well, nevertheless, after he was the ambassador to Italy, he went back to Baltimore, and about 10 years later was appointed by John Tyler as the Attorney General of the United States, and was also the Secretary of the State under John Tyler. He did that for about 2 years and then returned back to Baltimore. He was married twice. Francis Burr died early on in their marriage, gave him 2 children, Mary and Rosa. He married Matilda Tenant and had a son named Tenant Nelson. And Tenant will become a fairly prominent name in our family. At his funeral, the Reverend Johnson stated, "I have heard more eloquent, more brilliant imagery, more power of amplification, and more affluence of learning, but I do not think that in force of analysis, clearness of arrangement, perspicuity of statement, simplicity of language, closeness of logic, and concentration of thought, I have ever seen him much if all excelled by anyone else." He was buried in Baltimore at the Greenmount Cemetery between his 2 wives, Matilda and Frances. Some of the most precious things we have of John Nelson's here I was told, an original photography of John Nelson as a young man. This is not anywhere in the history books and was given down through our family. In retrospect, I'm not sure. It looks like John Nelson as a young man, but photography really didn't come to play until the mid-1850s. And he was not that age to maybe have had a photography. I don't think it's a drawing. I'm not sure. Maybe some art historian or photographer could tell me. But supposedly through the family, that's an original John Nelson, not seen by a museum anywhere. We have an original copy of his signature that I purchased from a historical society of his signature, John Nelson. And it was simply asking for his signature because of some legal document to make sure there was a legal claim. The first picture of John Nelson we truly know is here, and a portrait of John Nelson. Our most precious, I want to use the word relic of John Nelson, is we have his china that he used in his home in Mount Vernon, Virginia. His initials, John Nelson, with the eagle, are present on these dinner plates. If you turn around and look at the hutch we have behind us, we have a lot of his china that he used to probably host dignitaries in Baltimore when he was the ambassador to Italy and the Attorney General of America. So that is John Nelson, and more about these plates later. Thank you.